Good afternoon to my idol, B na B. Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. We are ready.
Good afternoon, Mr. Distinguished Gentleman. On Section 15 of the proposed bill, yung nakalagay po na temporary moratorium on transport-related loan payments, I just have a question. Pwede po ba natin isama yung, kasi it is limited to registered public transport drivers, operators, transport cooperatives, and TNVS operators. Sana po, baka pwedeng i-include yung mga logistics companies, shipping companies, all companies which are heavily dependent on fuel, such as MSMEs that are in the business of FMCG. Also, kasi syempre, ang ina-address lang po natin dito are yung matigil po yung biyahe. Pero sana, the bill and the law eventually will also address potential risks for inflation, inflationary pressure, and currency protection. Kasi marami pong industries na heavily reliant on fuel na matitigil po dahil pagka sumobrang taas yung fuel or nagkaroon ng rationing.
Mr. Speaker, I think we may have had some shortcoming. I don't think we were able to provide you with the latest version because the latest version on Section 15 in fact incorporates the very amendments that you proposed by the very exact wording. So Section 15 now reads, as presented for deliberation, is a temporary moratorium on loan, rental, and utilities payments. It no longer covers just TNVS or transportation related. In fact, using the very proposal that you said, if I may read, all banks, quasi-banks, financing companies, cooperatives, and other leading institutions shall grant, subject to the evaluation of borrower capacity, a moratorium of not less than 30 days on principal and interest payments on all outstanding loans, including salary, personal, housing, agri, MSME, and transport-related loans falling due during the effectivity of the declared national energy emergency. And I wish to put on record that the previous provision, which only tackled a small segment of the transportation sector, was correctly pointed out by Congressman Nazal as being incomplete. And that's why we have made the temporary moratorium no more expansive to cover those that are related to transportation in general.
Thank you, Mr. Sponsor. That makes me very happy. My next question is on Section 30, appropriations and sources of funding.
May Section
30. On letter A, rationalization of non-essential MOOE. If I may, dun po sa provision na yon, all departments, agencies, bureaus, I'll just go straight, no? The executive department shall adopt economy measures and shall identify and rationalize non-essential maintenance and other operating expenses in an amount not less than 10%, but not more than 20% of the covered line items, and in accordance with its applicable guidelines, circulars, and issuances. Ang question ko po dyan is, aren't we, by setting a compulsory 10% floor, creating a dangerous statutory contradiction? Kasi if there are agencies po na mas mababa yung kanilang non-essential MOOE at hindi umabot sa 10%, paano po yun? Will they have to go through the essential? Kukunin po ba nila yon para ma-meet nila yung 10%? Kasi parang the bill will allow them, parang sineset natin yung minimum at 10%. So not less than. So if ever, pwede po ba natin tanggalin to?
Uh, the recommendation of DBM on why 10% was placed as the minimum is based on actual utilization over the last 2 years. So in terms of non-essential, let's not forget that what we are considering is a period of emergency, a national emergency as declared by the President, as supported by all the cabinet secretaries. In short, there is something that needs to be urgently done and addressed. So it will require extraordinary activities on the part of the executive, including the generation of savings, so that we could use that to help and carry out immediate relief activities so that we can cure or we can limit the effect of inflation just in the transportation sector. So based on their experience, 10% is easily achievable. In fact, they expect it to be 20%. They wanted it 20%, Mr. Speaker, but upon exactly the points that you raised, they limited it to 10%.
May I ask, Mr. Sponsor, how much do we intend to raise from the MOOE?
On this particular item is 21 billion.
21 billion.
That is what we are advised by the DBM, Mr. Speaker.
Magkano po ba yung...
Mr. Speaker, my apologies. They've just recomputed. It's 11 billion.
Magkano po ba yung total non-essential na MOOE? Non-essential MOOE.
While they're generating it, the 11 billion is actually based on the submissions of the different agencies in relation to the budget circular.
So 11 billion covering all departments?
Yes.
Just specifically on non-essential?
Not yet all. 80% have already submitted.
80%?
Yes.
But the total is 11 billion for all?
No, for the 80%.
For the 80%.
So not all agencies have yet submitted. There is a deadline that they have set by the end of May to be able to do that. But right now, 80% of the agencies have already submitted. And 11 billion has been the amount offered.
Mr. Sponsor, while they are still computing, may I move on to the next question?
Yes, we undertake to provide you with that information as they compute it.
So on, again, on Section 30, letter B, discontinuance of programs, activities, and projects. So I'll just read the portion.
Before the gentleman continues, may we request order in the plenary?
So under the FY 2026 General Appropriations Act, whether released or unreleased, where the corresponding allotments remain unobligated, or where such programs, activities, and projects can no longer be effectively implemented during the emergency period. Nakita niyo po yun?
Yes, that is line 16 and 17 and 18 on page 26.
Yes. So may I ask, what does or where such programs, activities, and projects can no longer be effectively implemented during the emergency period mean? Does it mean na kahit obligated po, pero can no longer be implemented, can be discontinued?
Yes, yes. Obligated, but discontinued? Pwede. Pwede. Pwede, Mr. Speaker.
Pero doesn't it contradict yung second paragraph po in letter F sa release conditions? No amount shall be made subject to any funding action under this section if the same has already been validly obligated.
If it pertains, if you will look at the second paragraph of release conditions, that prohibition really refers to salaries, not to all other items. So this is actually serves as a qualification if you look at if it pertains to salaries, wages, pension, and other fixed personal benefits. That is our understanding, Mr. Speaker.
Yung stating, when we stated na or where such programs, activities, isn't it parang too blanket, masyadong blanket, too much of a blanket statement?
One-minute suspension, Mr. Speaker.
Session suspended.
Your position is correct. Your position is correct. Insofar as items that can be discontinued, if they are obligated, you cannot touch them anymore.
So can we remove that phrase? Yung or where such programs, activities, and projects can no allotments remain, yung where such programs or where such programs, activities, and projects can no longer be effectively implemented.
That is in relation to line, what line is that, Mr. Speaker?
Line
We're in page 26.
Line 22. Line 22 and 23.
Can we just reconcile? I think we have different items. I'd like to request 1 minute suspension.
Session
We'll leave
suspended.
Clearly on the floor is that discontinuance of PAPs will only refer to unobligated. So a correction will be made at the appropriate time to follow where the corresponding allotments remain unobligated. Instead of or, we can actually just put a comma, meaning where such programs, activities, and projects can no longer be effectively implemented, if only to stress that it only refers to unobligated, instead of or.
Can't we just delete that whole phrase altogether? But kasi specific naman, if it's unobligated, then go ahead.
I think the reason for which it is stated, Mr. Speaker, is only to emphasize those are the mechanisms by which savings are declared. So you're correct, it's a surplusage. We will consider the suggestion at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Mr.
But it is
Speaker.
clear that we're only referring to unobligated. So thank you for that correction. Yes.
Mr. Sponsor, what about items under FISARO or for issuance of SARO? Are these considered unobligated?
If it is for issuance of SAROS, then it is unobligated, according to the DBM.
So it is considered unobligated if wala pang for issuance of SARO.
Yes.
Okay. Kahit na po alam natin na ang pwede lang na naka-FISARO ay lump sum or those with conditions?
Yes, that's correct.
How about paano po yung mga naka-FISARO na hindi na right now under the 2025 budget, for example, 2026 budget, paano yung mga naka-FISARO na hindi naman siya considered as lump sum? Naka-line item siya. Wala ring conditions. Marami pong ganun.
Well, they are still considered as unobligated, so they can be included as part of the general sphere where the President can exercise his discretion.
That is where we have a problem. Kasi right now po, di ba, after the President signed the GAA of 2026, 46 billion pa lang ang naisuhan ng SARO. Pero ang naka-FISARO is the whole budget of DPWH.
I need to also stress that in terms of the appropriation, we have already specified that no portion of capital outlay, if it refers to physical structures, can be included as part of, as a source. So when you talk about DPWH or totally, or even in the other departments, as long as it is a physical structure, it cannot be the subject of expansion by the executive.
Can we include that in the provision?
It is here.
26.
Starting with line 25. For this purpose, discontinuance may include capital outlay PAPs that are not immediately necessary for the delivery of essential public services or for the implementation of emergency response, etc. Under the act, provided that buildings and structures outlay, infrastructure outlay, public infrastructure outlay shall be excluded from the coverage of such discontinuance. So your fear, although founded, is supported by this limitation. In fact, the limitation again is placed because when you pointed it out during the hearing.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Sponsor.
Tama na.
Okay, for pooled savings, under how much do we intend to raise capital outlay po for pooled savings?
We don't have that data yet, Mr. Speaker. Only non-essential MOE has so far been generated. Wala pa po tayo doon.
Is it 10 or 20% of the total capital outlay?
We don't have a floor there, Mr. Speaker. We don't have a minimum savings. But certainly, that will be very much limited considering the limitation on
But do we have a
the
target
items.
in terms of how much we intend to raise?
They don't have that data yet at the moment.
For 2026 po kasi,
If I may, while Mr. Speaker, while the interpolator is, I think what needs to also be stressed here, Mr. Speaker, is this is not just for 2026. So effectively, what we're trying to do, in the same way you were arguing in the past, that we want to create a framework. So,
yes.
be that as it may, unfortunately, we don't have the data yet relative to other savings that can be pulled today. But what we want to just establish is a framework within which what the limits of the executive discretion can be, which you've pointed out on numerous occasions and we have accepted.
So basically, Mr. Sponsor, thank you for pointing that out. What we intend really to point out is once we've raised, once lahat po ng 10 and 20% ng MOOE tsaka ng capital outlay ay naipon po natin, are we leaving it to the executive department to choose or to determine kung saan po mapupunta ito? Kasi this will probably amount to the billions, and if we look at the previous experience dun po sa Bayanihan Law, we cited specific amounts for specific programs. Naglagay po tayo dun ng specific amount for each specific program na inaprubahan po ng Congress. So, hindi po siya blanket authority. It is not, ngayon laging issue po yung sa Supreme Court yung unprogrammed funds. If we allow this to be pulled, and then just give DBM or the executive department the right to determine kung anong programs ang paglalagyan at kung magkano, hindi po ba natin tinatanggal yung power of the purse sa Congress?
The purpose for which certainly we are very mindful of the decisions of the Supreme Court relative to DAP, relative to unabated discretion given to the executive. So the limits within which the Supreme Court decisions have been made are embedded here, meaning on various paragraphs, you will see that in consonance with current DBM circulars, as well as in consonance, consistent with the provisions of the Constitution on Article 6, Section 25, Paragraph 2, as well as decisions of the Supreme Court. So basically, the limitations against which the President can exercise the discretion is that, unlike with the DAP, it is only within the executive. You cannot cross borders, meaning from the executive to the judiciary. Second is that it can only be used effectively to augment an existing program. It has to be there. So if the item is in fact not in existence, you cannot fund that using the savings. So the fear, which I agree with you, needs to be taken care of, is already being addressed by these various paragraphs and limitations on the discretion of the President.
If we go back to the DAP decision po, no? So for this purpose, in Araulo versus Aquino, it is the President who proposes the budget, but it is Congress that has the final say on matters of appropriations. So for this purpose, the appropriation involves two governing principles, namely a principle of the public fisc, asserting that all monies received from whatever source by any part of the government are public funds, and number two, a principle of appropriations control, prohibiting expenditure of any public money without legislative authorization. So, kaya po naging declared na unconstitutional yung DAP kasi po wala pong specific legislative authority. It was like a blank check. So, ganun din po yung unprogrammed appropriations. Ganun rin po ang nangyayari. So, ito po, sinasabi, Congress has the final say on matters of appropriation, and there is that principle of appropriations control. So, if we allow this, na walang specific na program, walang specific na amount, aren't we, like I previously stated, giving a blanket authority to the executive pertaining to these savings?
I disagree, Mr. Speaker. I disagree because the matter that is taking place here is far different from Araulo, because that took place when they took up the disbursement acceleration program, or the DAP. What we are doing here is a constitutional precept on delegation of power during an emergency situation. So that is the limit again, or that is the atmosphere under which this power is given. So Congress, as the Constitution says, may by law authorize the President to carry out functions that are exclusively within the legislature, including appropriation. So for a limited time frame, within limits set by Congress and by law, Congress can validly delegate it. So that's the huge divergence between DAP and Araulo and Kalinga, as well as Bayanihan.
I agree with you, Mr. Sponsor, but in Bayanihan, for example, it was also a case of emergency. So we are giving the President a statutory framework to work on para meron po siyang elbow room, no, to move. But in the same way, similar to Bayanihan, nabigyan din po natin yung Presidente ng elbow room to move, pero doon nakaspecify po yung amounts, nakaspecify din yung program. So yun lang naman po ang gusto sana natin siguraduhin, gusto natin ilagay, ipasok dito sa ating bill, kasi pwede naman po nilang lagyan kung anong specific programs, lagyan nila ng limits, di ba? And then kung kailangan, total na ipon po naman nila yung pera, pwede naman pong dalhin sa Kongreso at magpasa po tayo ng supplemental budget or an appropriations bill that will help the President without removing the power of the purse from Congress.
You're correct. You're correct. But there's delegation of legislative power does not only take one form. It could be as specific as you want. What the Supreme Court nearly requires are two things. It must be complete. It must be sufficient. So Congress from time to time will make this delegation as limited as it can by putting in all the necessary conditions, yet giving the trigger or the discretion to the executive. Or Congress can sometimes be, in a sense, for lack of a better word, Mr. Speaker, can be liberal. Meaning as long as it falls within the limits, as well as the decisions or the guardrails set by the Supreme Court, that will still be valid. And in this case, what we are creating is a framework. We cannot at this point in time yet set aside specific funds for specific programs precisely because we don't know yet how much money will be available. So it is not a surrender. It is a valid delegation. There is a sufficient standard. The test is, it is complete insofar as what triggers it, within which, for what purposes, for what programs as specified, but we don't put the amounts because we will leave that to the executive. But if only to assure you also, Mr. Speaker, is that the executive is required to regularly disclose to Congress how disbursements are made, and Congress may, at any point in time, withdraw this authorization when it decides so. And like I said, it's an extraordinary situation requiring or giving the President the necessary elbow room.
In my proposed bill, Mr. Sponsor, we set, the bill I proposed set an amount of 100 billion. Can't we at least set a ceiling or set a limit on magkano yung ibibigay natin na appropriations sa executive?
At the moment, we don't feel the need to do that because we don't know what the extent will be on any situation in the future. Meaning, probably today we feel more at ease. If we had passed this 2 months ago, all the more we would have felt that we could not put a ceiling because we did not know how long it will last. Again, I go back to the fact that this is a framework. So we cannot put a specific limit on a framework because we don't know what the situation will be each time an energy emergency takes place.
We already did it, Mr. Sponsor, during the Bayanihan na nag-set nga tayo ng limit in the framework.
Because Mr. Speaker, the biggest difference with Bayanihan and today is Bayanihan was a one-time activity. In fact, we had to pass another Bayanihan to supplement. So, because of our experience with Bayanihan, we want to, instead of having a cyclical coming back to Congress, and we want to create that framework which the executive will have, under which we can constantly review, instead of having a one-time activity. So, it's a different approach, learning from the Bayanihan experience.
Kaya nga po medyo mahirap rin kasing magbigay lang tayo ng just a total blanket or a blank check or blanket authorization. Kasi if we do not set a limit, paano po ang safeguard dito? What if the savings, let's say for example, amount to 500 billion or 1 trillion? Ano pong gagawin natin? Can that be, aren't we giving the executive a blank check?
No.
Para po siyang para siyang unprogrammed funds uli.
No, absolutely. Absolutely, I cannot conform to that, Mr. Speaker. It is not a blank check because, in fact, the limits or the area within which they can generate savings are already very, very limited when we remove public infrastructure. So the amount of savings today that they can, just based on even on a maximum basis, cannot reach those amounts.
So more or less po, Mr. Sponsor, we have an indication kung magkano ma-raise nila.
At the moment, not yet. At the moment, not yet. But like I said, is that we need to give them the necessary framework to be able to carry out these urgent actions.
Meron naman, kasi they can do projections. And if they are saying that, for example, this war or the crisis will last for around 1 year, if it lasts for 1 year or 6 months, ganito po yung ma-generate nila. Pagka lumampas ng 6 na buwan, ganito. Siguro, why don't we put a time frame? Hindi ba? If the war will last, if the energy crisis will last for a certain period, ganito ang probable na ma-raise natin, ilagay po natin yung possible amount, yung projected amount. Pwede po ba yun? Why don't we do that?
Well, there is a limit, no? Insofar as when the emergency can take place, meaning there are very, very specific triggers. It goes through a set of steps before it actually takes place. It has to go through 11 cabinet secretaries. There has to be a factual determination by the Department of Energy before a trigger or even a reason can actually be, can justify the action of the President. Secondly, the time is limited. It is limited insofar as other activities are concerned. It is limited within the duration of the emergency period. Secondly, that emergency period can be withdrawn or limited also by Kalinga, by the Kalinga Council. Thirdly, Congress can withdraw or shorten that emergency period. And third, by the adjournment of Congress, the emergency powers also automatically is extinguished or stops being effective. So these are the limits in terms of the duration. There is likewise a limit on the application because you need an item to augment. You need an existing item. And I think that's the biggest departure from DAP. Because DAP, practically the executive, could use savings and fund it for even non-existing items. Items that did not go through the ringer of the legislative mill or the power of the purse. So we deem these limits sufficient. Again, the power, it's going to be a balance between regulating the action of the executive to make sure that they don't abuse it, but at the same time, we need to give them the necessary elbow room so they can quickly address the various problems that they face during an energy emergency crisis. Because if we did not give them the power and it remains with Congress, the presumption is it will be too slow, and by the time we're able to act, it will be too late. So that's really the balancing that we've done. That's why more than half of your suggestions we have incorporated in recognition of the standards that you feel like need to be put in place.
Do we more or less have an amount of how much we intend to raise, coming from both obligated, from unobligated, from all the discontinuance, from all the pool savings, from all the pool savings that we intend to?
From the demand side, meaning from the needs, as expounded by the different departments on what they need to be able to implement, the
Yes.
figure was at 261 billion.
261.
But on the supply side, meaning the DBM, in
Yes.
terms of scavenging for funds, they have not reached that portion yet. But if at all, if there is a policy limit today, that is the limit that they have said as to what they need.
So can't we set it, for example, from what you're saying, we set it at from the demand side?
Yeah, but we don't want to do that, Mr. Speaker, because if we do that, there will be future activities or future energy crises that might be bigger or might be smaller. So we're giving them the leeway. Be that as it may, Congress will continue to review. We just feel like at this point in time, while it is well to put a limit, it is prudent, but it will run contrary to our desire to give the executive that necessary leeway. So balancing po talaga, Mr. Speaker, ang ginagawa natin.
Okay. May I ask for a report on the savings from DBM?
We undertake to give you the report, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the interpellation. Deeply appreciate the attention and the contribution, invaluable, given by Congressman Robert Nazal of Party List Bagong Henerasyon, the party list I will vote for in the next elections.
Last na, Mr. Sponsor. So, how can the legislative framework ensure that the executive branch does not on debt savings? So how can the legislative framework ensure that the executive branch does not unintentionally alter debt payment schedules to create artificial savings?
The
Oh,
debt savings as a source will often and will refer only to gains by virtue of foreign exchange that's favorable, interest rate adjustments that take place because of positive credit rating. It will be too difficult, if I may say so, it will be too difficult and too long a process for the executive, based on experience and based on logic, that they will actually try to renegotiate all these transactions during an emergency just to be able to generate. Although the fear is there, I think it will run contrary to natural human experience.
Based on on our current run rate, yung previous experience po natin, our automatic appropriation for debt service and interest from 2023 and 24, nag-exceed po tayo ng gastos. So, from 2023, we paid 582 billion. Our budget pala was 582 billion and we ended up paying 628 billion. For 2024, it was 670 billion yung ating budget, and then 763 yung actual na binayaran natin. For 2025, do we already have that? Our budget right now is 848 billion.
We will ask Mr. Speaker from the Bureau of the Treasury, but obviously the trend will be the same.
Yeah, so
Meaning
that's what I'm
we
pointing
pay
at.
more than what we budget. That's why, in reality, I wanted to say earlier that as a fund source, when you talk about debt service savings, in all likelihood that's never going to happen. But if in the event that we are able to manage the foreign exchange so that it goes lower than originally priced, meaning had we entered into the obligation or the debt instrument where the exchange rate was at 60 pesos and it goes down to 55, then we should be able to use that. But like I said, this is only for purposes of at least trying to expand the areas where we can get savings.
Considering, Mr. Sponsor, that this is our current experience is contrary to, kumbaga hindi natin kailangan itong provision na to Can we just remove this? Since, as you said, hindi naman natin mamimit ito.
Well, I did not say that we will not meet it, but all
In
I'm
the
saying
future,
is,
you're saying this can happen.
but we don't know. But we don't know what happens in the future, Mr. Speaker. Again, we go back to the fact that this is a framework.
Yes.
We don't know what happens in the future if the economy, we finally become a rising middle income economy, and if the exchange rate is by some, and we see it, meaning if there is some changes in the foreign exchange that is favorable to us, we just want to give the executive again that framework against which they can dip and they can collect savings. So if today it's not possible, we don't know next year, 2 years from now, 10 years from today, we don't know if that will be possible or if in fact it can be viable. So ayaw nating isara yung pinto po doon. Today, parang malabo, pero tingin ko next year, 3 years from today, hindi natin alam. Ready, Mr. Speaker.
So, yung excess revenues and new revenues, new collections, it was indicated po dito sa bill na kukunin din natin ito. So, that means does that mean wala na pong unprogrammed, lahat ililipat na for use of for Kalinga?
Mr. Speaker, what we're doing here is that we are providing the executive the discretion.
So
This
we
is-
can expect, Mr. Sponsor, that there won't be any, once this is passed, wala na pong unprogram. Kasi kukunin na natin lahat yon and dito siya magagamit.
It will be up to the president, meaning the president can use excess revenue collections to fund un program, or he can use, if there's an emergency, to fund this. So like I said, it is a framework during an emergency or during a crisis, we're simply giving the president all the necessary armaments to be able to address it. So we don't know how the president will behave relative to that. So anyway, the matter on program is also pending before the Supreme Court. So we will leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Sponsor. Thank you for including all the amendments that we proposed.
Thank you, and I wish to put on record the invaluable contribution of Mr. Speaker, of Congressman Nazal in framing the limits as well as the various provisions of the Kalinga Bill.
Thank you for being very open-minded, Mr. Sponsor.
Thank you very much, Representative Norbert Nadal from BH Party List. Thank you very much, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize the Honorable Paolo Marcoleta of the Sagip Party List for his interpellation.
There is an objection. Chair hears none. The gentleman from Sakip Party List is recognized. Please proceed, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor.
Gladly, Mr. Speaker, with deep privilege to be interpellated by my friend and the better Marcoleta, if I may say so.
It is with great honor to stand along with the dashing and debonair Deputy Speaker, my idol since the 14th Congress.
Does that mean you're terminating your interpellation?
No, although most of my questions were already asked by the Honorable Nasal. So I have a reduced set of questions, distinguished sponsor, Mr. Chair. Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor, while going over the draft bill, I would say that the bill is essentially an Ayuda bill to address or to mitigate the impact of the existing fuel crisis. So it's primarily an Ayuda-based legislation. Mr. Sponsor, Mr. Speaker.
With due respect, I cannot conform to that position because, in fact, the Ayuda portion of the bill is not even 20% of the bill. But if I may just explain, with the indulgence of my colleague, is that what we're really trying to establish here is a framework to be provided to the executive in times of energy emergencies in the future. So hindi lang po para sa taon na ito, kundi sa mga hinaharap pa. That's why nilalagay po natin, hindi nga tayo naglagay po, existing frameworks lang tayo ng assistance. Yun ang una. Kasi ang the first thing that needs to be done is obviously to stop the bleeding. What we want to do is in any crisis, particularly oil, we know for a fact that the oil crisis, there is only one basic sector that is really hit, and that is transportation. So, but if we are unable to address transportation immediately, that disease spreads to other parts of the economy, going to food because of logistics, and when food inflation increases, or that is the biggest component of economic inflation. So, what this does is actually not set aside funds. What it does is actually make the first aid or the emergency room activity more structured, less politicized, because we are requiring them to come up with a interoperable database on different sectors: fisherfolk, farmers, jeepney, TODA, TNVS, that are reliable and that are accurate and truthful, which will also show the economic status of each one. So each time there is an energy crisis that takes place again, government's reaction is very automatic. But the other aspects, Mr. Chair, I'd like to point out, really refers to granting the administrator or the executive the power to use its savings to be able to address emergency measures, but at the same time to give them also power to suspend taxes. We placed here the power to suspend taxes not only on excise, but also on value-added tax, so that the executive will have more leeway to see how to dampen the effect on our ordinary individuals or ordinary folks. So yun po, hindi lang po siya ayuda.
Thank you very much for that reply, distinguished sponsor. What I mean by raising that question is that by giving ayuda, hindi ko naman po sinasabi ng ayuda hindi importante. Ngunit ito po ay temporary relief lang para sa ating mga nasasakupan. Ang gusto ko po sanang sagot ng ating distinguished sponsor ay kung paano natin malulutas ang supply disruption ng ating langis, dahil ito po ang pinagmumulan ng problema natin. Nung nagkaroon po ng digmaan sa gitnang silangan, essentially yung supply natin, yung supply chain ng langis ay nagkaroon ng problema. So, tinitignan ko po yung bill. Medyo ako po yung nakukulangan sa provision, sa paghahanap ng solusyon para matugunan yung problema ng paghahanap ng supply ng langis. Ang inaasahan ko sanang sagot, Mr. Speaker, sana nakapaloob din sa bill yung paghahanap ng mga alternative new sources of supply. Halimbawa, dito sa Southeast Asia, exporter naman ng Malaysia, ang Brunei, bakit di natin explore yung posibilidad na magkaroon ng mga panibagong trade agreements sa mga bansang ito, imbes na tayo ay umaasa lamang sa gitnang silangan para sa ating oil supply. Yun lamang po ang aking katanungan.
Tama po kayo. Very valid po ang point ni Mr. Speaker, ni Congressman Marcoleta. Kung titingnan po ninyo sa buong provisions po natin, paulit-ulit po tayo doon na tinutulak o minamandato ang gobyerno na mag-develop ng indigenous. Malinaw po sa Section 20, nakalagay talaga, indigenous energy, renewable energy, and electric mobility support. Itong provision po na section po na ito ay ang patungkol talaga ay kung paano ang ating bansa inuutos ng Kongreso sa executive na lumayo at maging less dependent po sa langis. So lahat po ng itinutulak natin dito ay to address, tama po yung concern ninyo, wala po itong provision na ito dati, pero inilagay po natin ito because ayaw po natin ng pansamantala lamang na pagkilos pagdating sa krisis. Gusto po natin maging resilient ang ating ekonomiya, sang-ayon po ako sa inyo, kaya nilagay po natin ito dito. So bukod sa pagtutulak ng indigenous, meaning dito lang sa Pilipinas, sa panggagalingan, binibigyan din natin ng tax incentives ang iba't ibang mga pamamaraan, ang employers, kahit po ang pamilya, ang kumpanya, kung sila po ay nagtutulak para po ang kuryente nila ay maging solar or solarization, binibigyan po natin sila. Kung ikaw po ay employer na nagpapautang ng car plan, bibigyan at papahintulutan po namin kayo na gamitin ito bilang deduction sa gross income para i-encourage po sila na wag na pong maging dependent sa krudo. So, halos lahat po dito, pati po yung ating mga tax incentives, ay pagtulak doon sa sinasabi po ni Congressman Paulo Marcoleta na ang kailangan talagang direksyon ay bawasan natin or if at all, to eliminate our dependence on oil. Because once we're able to do that, kahit ano pong gera sa Middle East, kahit anong bakbakan po nila doon, ay hindi na po tayo dapat naapektuhan or kung naapektuhan man tayo, ay hindi po ganun kabigat o lalim ang epekto.
Opo, pero hindi pa po natin masasabi na sa ngayon ay pwede na tayong makahulagpos sa ating dependence sa petroleum products. Ano po ba ang percentage ng in terms of fossil-based petroleum consumption ng vehicles as opposed to EV? Ano po bang ratio sa ngayon?
Sa public utility vehicles po na pinakaapektado ang inflation ay wala pa hong 1% sa kabuuan ng public utility vehicles ay electric. So ito isang bagay na kailangan mas ma-address talaga natin dahil ito ang pangunahing tama pagdating sa ating ordinary na mamananakay po.
Opo. Thank you, distinguished sponsor, Mr. Speaker. Napansin ko po na ang ating panukalang batas ay nakatuon sa mga problemang transport sector related. Halimbawa, allowance, transportation allowance, ganyan, gas, fuel allowance, ganyan. So ito po ay nakatuon lamang sa transport sector. Pero kung tutusin natin, itong krisis na ito is all-encompassing. Apektado rin po dito ang pagtaas ng presyo ng mga bilihin, pangunahing bilihin, tulad ng pagkain, at pagtaas ng utilities tulad ng kuryente. Pwede po bang, is the distinguished sponsor open to amending this bill to accommodate other provisions, halimbawa, other relief like extension of loan payments sa mga bahay, prohibition on increase in rent sa mga bahay at sa tuition fees, halimbawa. Tuition fees, dahil apektado lahat ang middle class dito. Hindi lang, I would like to believe na hindi lang ito transport related crisis, kundi it's an all-encompassing crisis that we need to address. Na apektado lahat. Hindi lang po ang ating modality sa pagtransport, kundi yung pagkain natin, utilities natin, yung rent na binabayaran ng karaniwang manggagawa, yung tuition na ibinabayad pang matrikula ng mga magulang. Wala po ba tayong provision para sa mga yon at open po ba kayo na magkaroon ng provision para sa iyon? Dahil sa Bayanihan Bill, I believe they covered almost entirely yung pong mga hinanaing ng ating taong bayan nung panahon ng COVID-19.
Mr. Speaker, yung lahat ng sinabi ng ating kasama ay halos lahat nasa Section 15. Page 15, ito ang temporary moratorium on loan, rental, and utilities payments, where the consumer, regardless in fact of the situation of the consumer, is given a 30-day moratorium in terms of payments, of principal, as well as interest payments. Aside from that, the rental payments are likewise included as part of a grace period over a 30-day period. Electric bills, pag-atas sa ating mga electric utilities, water utilities, telecom, ay meron ding 30-day grace period na ibinibigay. Dahil kinikilala po natin na ang epekto po ng krisis na ito ay hindi lamang po sa transportation, kundi sa iba't iba pang sektor o bahagi ng ating lipunan. Gusto ko rin pong idagdag na maliban sa transportation sector ay malaki po sa ating mga programang ating ilalagay po rito ay pagdating po sa pagkain. Ito po ang Section 12 on fuel and fertilizer support na kung saan hindi po natin napagpasyahan po natin na imbis binibigyan natin ng ayuda o pera ang ating mga magsasaka at hindi tayo natitiyak na ito ba'y dinadala sa pagsasaka, ay gagawin talaga nating in the form of vouchers as well as para dating sa fuel, fuel discounts para sa kanilang mga traktora, para pagdating po sa logistics at pagdala ng kanilang mga ani para madala sa palengke, including hauling. Meron din po tayo for food producers, hindi lang po ng palay, ng mais, kundi ng aquaculture, isda, pati po livestock, manok, at saka, or poultry, at saka baboy. So, kinakover po natin sila lahat na po dito dahil alam po natin na kailangan po silang mabigyan ng atensyon tulad po ng sinasabi ng ating distinguished colleague.
Thank you, distinguished sponsor, Mr. Speaker. Pero sa binanggit niyo po na ayuda, hindi po nabanggit yung ano dito, yung educational assistance. Lalong-lalo po ngayon, panahon ng Mayo, ilang linggo na lang, o ngayon, ongoing na po ang enrollment. And the middle class sector is bearing the brunt nitong pagtaas po ng presyo ng produktong petrolyo. Baka wala na po silang nailaan para sa pangmatrikula ng kanilang mga anak. Meron po tayo bang pwedeng ipasok dito sa educational assistance? Kasi kinover natin ang utilities, kinover natin ang pataba, kinover natin ang para sa transport sector, sa mga drivers. Halos lahat po yan, may mga anak na pinag-aaral.
Mr. Speaker, meron po tayong sa Section 11 on Paragraph A na nilalagay talaga natin for low-income and near-poor households. So hindi lang po sa 4-piece, kundi doon po sa mga taong isang hakbang na lang po ay papunta na po below the poverty line. Meron po tayong mga emergency cash transfers na ang in fact pangunahing magiging isa sa mga pangunahing purposes dyan ay for educational. So ito po ang nakikita naming isang dahilan o isang paraan para ma-address po yung sinasabi po nating concern.
Thank you, distinguished sponsor, Mr. Speaker. Tinitignan ko rin po yung bill, wala pong specific na amount na naka-indicate sa mga emergency cash transfers, sa mga grants for fuel subsidies, fuel vouchers, fuel cards. It does not specify the inclusions. Ano po ang halaga na ibibigay in terms of fertilizer support, fuel and operating support. Wala pong specific na halaga na nakasaad dito.
Mr. Speaker, ang dahilan po dyan ay natuto na po tayo sa bayanihan na ayaw po natin na one time, big time lang po ang ating batas na ipapasa. Ang nais po natin ay mabigyan ng framework ang ating pamahalaan. Kaya't hindi po tayo naglalagay ng mga halaga because several years from today ay hindi na yun ang akma na maaaring halaga. Dalawang bagay ang kailangan i-consider is number one, ano yung actual need or the demand side, ano ba yung halaga na yun. Hindi natin ma-determine today kung ano yung need 2 years from today, kung yung ba'y sapat. Pangalawa, ay kailangan din natin makita kung ano yung available savings na pwede natin makuha para po ma-address yung energy emergency crisis. So, lilinawin ko lang po parati is, ang pinagkaiba nito sa bayanihan ay, ang bayanihan, ang buong ekonomiya ay talaga nakadapa. Walang makalabas ng sariling mga tahanan, kaya't kinailangan po natin ma-address ito. Ang thrust po ng Kalinga Bill is to address a temporary, short-term crisis, which is energy crisis. So, ang ginagawa po natin is binibigyan natin ng framework para mas nakaka-react po ang ating gobyerno ng mabilisan, pero at the same time, naglalagay po tayo ng limits.
Pwede naman po natin, distinguished sponsor, Mr. Speaker, na hindi naman natin sasabihin na one time lang tong assistance. Pwede natin sabihin regular emergency cash transfers to qualified low-income and near-poor households in the amount of blank, etc., etc. Ibig sabihin, pwede naman periodic tong assistance natin eh. Hindi naman common nilagay natin yung amount. Hindi naman sinasabi na ito ay one-shot deal lang o one-time, big-time lang, kumbaga, na ayuda sa ating mga constituents. One more thing, distinguished sponsor, Mr. Speaker. On the earmarking funds for subsidies and direct cash assistance. Section 27 of the bill imposes an additional 5% excise tax on non-essential goods and services, with the tax going towards fuel subsidies and direct cash assistance. Can the distinguished sponsor commit to an amendment that ensures that the collection by the Bureau of Internal Revenue is automatically remitted to the fund for the implementation of the Kalinga program?
Well, even more than that, Mr. Speaker, not only are we agreeing to an amendment, but in fact, the most recent version that we have distributed has already entirely scrapped that provision. So Section 27 is no longer in existence. It has, because after due consideration, we have seen that it is very difficult to implement. So tinanggal na po namin yun.
Okay, thank you, distinguished sponsor. Mr. Speaker. Since the bill is almost entirely about distribution of assistance, can the distinguished sponsor assure na ito pong implementation o yung pamamahagi po ng ayuda will not be politicized or weaponized to favor political allies? Kasi nakalagay po sa ating provision, the LGUs can be tapped to implement the distribution of the incentives or itong mga stipends. What safeguards are in place that will make sure that the Kalinga program will not be politicized or weaponized to favor only political allies and to marginalize perceived political adversaries?
That's a very valid point, Mr. Speaker. In fact, we have placed in Section 8 as a mandate to the executive that it comes up with finally a verified database system that is interoperable, that has common beneficiary registries, and at the same time instructing the executive to develop a system of distribution that will not entail beneficiaries having to be gathered where they have to listen to politicians, so that the executive will now use the existing flow or existing electronic transfer systems. So I agree with you, Mr. Speaker, that we need to ensure that this will not be politicized, and these are the basic items that we have placed, if only to avoid it from being politicized.
Thank you, distinguished sponsor. Dahil gusto ko rin kasing sabihin na kami, ang aking constituents ay umiinda pagka iniipit ang release ng mga pondo. Katulad po ngayon, yung AX ko, pati yung tupad ay were put on hold. At pagka ginagawa po kasi yun, yung pag-ipit o pag-hold ng pondo, hindi po yung representante o yung partido ang nasasaktan, yung pong mga constituents. Kaya sana po hindi po maulit ito. Habang ito ating binabalangkas, maging universal yung aplikasyon nito at wala pong sisinuhin kung ikaw kaaliado ba o kalaban sa politika. Dapat po, basta't nangangailangan yung bayan na yun, kailangan matugunan po ng kaukulang ayuda.
Sangayon po ako dyan. In fact, na-raise na po yan ng Mr. Speaker ni Congressman Marcoleta noong nakaraan. Sabi nga po natin is part and parcel of this very specific section is really mandating the executive to come up with a database system that is not subject to political intervention. at kung ano man ang distribution system na gagawin, ay dapat electronic para automatic kapag nagko-qualify ka dyan sa interoperable, verified database system, wala na pong nakikialam. Diretso na po yan. Kung yan man po ay galing sa DA, yan man po ay galing sa Bureau of Fisheries, galing sa DSWD, diretso na po ito sa beneficiaries, hindi na po dumadaan sa politiko.
Opo, hindi na po kailangan tawagan si Secretary Rex
Opo.
or si Speaker
Opo.
para i-release ang mga pondo.
Opo, dahil hindi rin po siya magiging epektibo sa totoo lang po kung mamimili tayo. Dahil ang gusto natin pigilan dito is inflation. Ayaw natin tumaas ang presyo ng bilihin. Kapag mamimili ka at merong maghihirap na tao, lalo kung nasa transportation sector yan, maapektuhan din tayong lahat. So that's why we really have to make the response non-political as much as we can.
Thank you for that reply, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor. On preventing the pass-through nature of the windfall profit tax, Section 26 of the bill introduces a 15% windfall profit tax on covered petroleum products based on net profits. This is a commendable provision since it allows the generation of internal revenue without incurring new debt. Can this representation be assured that this provision for a tax will not be a pass-through tax ultimately imposed upon consumers? And can the legislation provide for a guardrail that will protect our consumers from an additional tax on products and services?
Yes, the point is very well taken. We will make sure that this will not be something that will be passed on to the consumer. But more importantly, I think what is important here is if petroleum companies are able to partake of great profits during times of crisis, since we are not regulating prices because of the oil deregulation at the moment, then whatever income they make, they have to share with the national government, which in turn can use these for energy emergency action or programs that will be needed.
And following that question, Mr. Distinguished Sponsor, can the good sponsor of this bill include or welcome an amendment that will explicitly prohibit the inclusion of this tax in retail pump pricing? With this, any violation to this prohibition should be treated as price manipulation. We should hold entities liable for administrative and criminal penalties under the law.
I agree that it should have a penal provision. We likewise discussed that. Your point is well taken. But we were informed by the BIR that there are already the necessary measures and penal provisions under the National Internal Revenue Code that can be applied. The question you raised was a question we also raised, but the BIR said that there is no need because those penalties, as mentioned by the distinguished colleague, is already set forth in the National Internal Revenue Code.
Thank you very much, distinguished sponsor. Mr. Speaker, I think this is the final question.
I hope it's not the final nail on the coffin.
On renewable energy corporate tax incentives to help lower the utility and consumer product prices. Section 24 of the bill provides an incentive to business enterprises for a 50% special deduction from gross income for ordinary and necessary expenses incurred when shifting to renewable energy products and systems. Can the certified business enterprises who will benefit from this incentive be required to recompute and lower retail prices of products or services based on the effect of shifting to renewable energy products and systems? Considering that business enterprises will enjoy the generous incentive of the deduction, the legislation should ultimately have an effect that will help ease challenges to the cost of living.
The purpose here, Mr. Speaker, is when we provide the 50% deduction from gross income, is essentially to encourage all these businesses to incur capital outlay. Meaning, otherwise, they would not be spending for these. But since we want our economy to get away from oil, we are encouraging companies, gumastos po kayo. Gastos kayo dito para sa energy saving, particularly solarization. And in exchange, kahit mapapagastos kayo, hindi scheduled, ay bibigyan kayo namin ng pagkakataon para magkaroon kayo ng deduction. So, if we penalize them or we impose additional taxes for additional income that they will make, might run contrary to the very reason why we're giving the incentive. But if only to assure our distinguished colleague, let's not forget that whatever income they make will still be subjected to corporate income tax, which currently is one of the highest in Southeast Asia. So, magbabayad naman po sila ng tax. So, gusto lang natin talaga sila ma-encourage sa gumastos para po mas maging less dependent tayo sa fossil fuel pagdating sa energy.
Opo, ang binabanggit ko po hindi po yung pag-impose ng additional tax, kundi yung pagbababa or pag-adjust ng mga presyo ng kanilang mga retail products. Kasi meron nga silang incentive. So, inaasahan ko na bababa rin yung presyo ng kanilang mga produce.
At this point in time, I think that's going to be, if I may, Mr. Speaker, that's going to be an administrative activity on the part of the DTI, the BIR, in terms of the e-vehicle law. There are already incentives that are put in place there, and we don't want to disrupt that. What we're simply trying to do here is really develop a framework of incentives so that we can incentivize them to leave or go to solarization.
Thank you, distinguished sponsor. Mr. Speaker, I have no more questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleague.
Thank you very much, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize the Congressman from the 1st District of Batangas, Congressman Leandro Laviste, for his interpellation.
The gentleman from Batangas is recognized.
Good evening again, Mr. Speaker.
Good evening, Leon. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chair, in our hearings, the DBM said that with a 20% cut on non-essential MOOE, they would generate around 25 billion pesos in savings. Is that correct?
That is correct.
May I clarify if there's been any update on these plans?
On the amounts,
Yes.
so far with the agencies reporting, because the system is the implementing agencies will submit their reports in compliance with the DBM circular. So far what they've been able to generate is 11 billion in terms of commitment.
And what percent is this cut in non-essential MOOE? Is it still 20%?
Earlier we were informed that it was close to 80%.
There's going to be an 80% cut in non-essential MOOE.
No. 80% of the agencies have submitted their commitment to reduce non-essential MOE. But the target there is 20 billion. And I am informed that a number of the large agencies have yet to submit their reports, which their deadline is the end of this month.
So this is on the purpose of reporting, but in the purpose of what is the requirement, there is no moving from the requirement of at least 20%.
That's a floor.
Yes.
Meaning that's the minimum that they should do.
Yes.
If they can do more, why not?
May I then clarify the purpose of having in Section 30A, line 33 of the bill, that the cut in non-essential MOOE will be 10%, at least?
Yes. So the 20% is in reference to the DBM circular. So the DBM circular actually referred to 10 to 20%.
Yes.
So,
and-
but in terms of implementing the as a law, the DBM was of the distinct impression or position that we should peg it just at 10%.
Yes, I'm only referring to the DBM circular so that we have a reference on what is, in their opinion,
Potentially.
feasible.
Yes.
But after all, it is our prerogative in Congress to impose what the members of Congress see fit. And would you not agree, Mr. Chair, that the more that we can save in non-essential MOE that we can then give to the people, the better?
That is correct. But the position of the DBM is that today we can generate 20%, but again, we are creating a framework. If we put 20%, we don't know what the situation is in the future, meaning, are we in a better cash position? Will we have a bloated budget? Will there be more leeway? Based on what they're saying, is if we are to codify the non-essential savings, they feel comfortable at putting it as a floor price of 10%.
To put in context, what is the non-essential MOE that we are discussing? If I'm not mistaken, it's around 150 billion pesos in line items, which 20% of which for the rest of the year that they computed was around 25 billion pesos. Is that right?
That's 150 billion, you're correct.
Yes, and this 150 billion that they identified includes 28 billion in traveling expenses, 14 billion in representation expenses, and other such similar truly non-essential expenses. These are not essential expenses. By definition, they are the non-essential expenses.
So line 36 on page 25 specifies what these are.
Yes, and
Foreign and local traveling, expenses, training, seminars, workshops, scholarships and conferences, representation expenses, fuel, water, electricity, and other utility expenses, supplies and materials expenses, professional services, consultants and technical assistants, and general services, advertising expenses, printing and publication expenses, and other similar MOOE items.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And that is a total of 150 billion pesos,
We are informed, yes, that is correct.
of which, as mentioned, traveling is around 28, and representation is around 14, and there are seminars and these other expenses that you have discussed. And I would like to ask if it would be reasonable that we ask agencies to impose a larger cut on their non-essential MOE, considering that I think it appears on its face unnecessary that amidst an economic crisis, we maintain at most 90% of the 150 billion pesos of non-essential MOE.
Well, first, many of these items have already been expended, considering that the crisis took place in the last part of the first quarter. They've been already obligated or in fact spent. Secondly is the DBM is of the position that the 20% based on their circular today is really just the floor. In fact, some agencies are submitting more than that based on what they are receiving from the field. So agencies are encouraged to even come up with a higher amount. But obviously, I think many agencies will feel like it's going to be a tug of war, because many of the agencies will feel like that what may seem non-essential is very essential to them, particularly in terms of training, in terms of talent development, of talent retention. But as we said, there is an emergency, there is a national crisis, then certain things will have to be prioritized, and this is effectively not being prioritized at the moment.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm trying to be constructive, and I think that this is a point that everyone would agree on if asked that amidst the crisis, is it really essential that we spend 28 billion pesos on traveling expenses? And rather than cutting the traveling expenses budget, for example, if it's 28 billion, by 2.8 billion, can we cut the traveling expenses of 28 billion pesos by a little more than 10%?
We will, that's part and parcel of what's happening in the field today. I just need to stress also that traveling expenses based on what I discovered, because I was of the impression that it referred to traveling abroad. In fact, a bulk of it is really transportation domestically. More than 94% or 95% in fact is travel domestic, meaning gasoline expenses for appraisers, individuals who are required to really travel from one point to the other. So yun po pinanggagalingan. Pero patuloy po natin silang kukulitin dyan kung ano pa po pwede nilang magawa. But again, like I said, it's also going to be dictated on the demand side, how much is actually needed for us to effectively address the energy crisis. Then the executive will have to keep shaking the tree so that more fruits will fall. And again, it becomes a political activity on the part of the executive.
Yes. In our previous committee hearing with you, Mr. Chair, I gave the example and you concurred that we should in fact impose cuts on the seminars that the DILG has barangay officials attend, which I learned from the officials from my district. They spend maybe 40,000 pesos per barangay captain to attend a seminar. And I think if we put it in context of these concrete examples, we can see that these are not really essential. And by the very definition of this bill, these are the non-essential expenses. We don't need 40,000 pesos per barangay captain to attend seminars amidst this economic crisis. So could I ask that you be open, Mr. Chair, that we increase the cut on non-essential MOOE from 10% as proposed in this bill?
Just to address the point of our colleague, Mr. Speaker, is that in fact the DILG has already imposed a restriction on many of these seminars of our local government officials. Many of these gatherings have already been canceled, national conventions for that matter, or even regional conventions, in light of the call of the President as well as the DBM to be able to set aside these items. So it's already happening as we speak.
Yes, and I'm sure they will also argue that this bill's mandatory cut on non-essential MOE is unnecessary because they will do it beyond this required amount anyway. But as you were saying, you need to shake the tree to impose cuts that they otherwise would not do. And so I am asking if you would not agree, and I hope you would agree, that we can ask for more than at least 10% on the cut on non-essential MOOE. And that I hope you can express your position as a member of Congress, and one that is not necessarily the same as these other agencies, because certainly incentive of an agency is to protect their budget. The incentive of us as members of Congress is to serve our constituents.
I'm personally inclined to agree with the position. But as in fact, let's not forget that the executive does not in fact need this provision. They can do it on their own, and they're already doing it. We are simply putting in the provision here as a manifestation of the strong sentiment of Congress that this is one item that needs to be reduced. And they're already doing it. In fact, it's more than 10%. But I don't want us to get out of the thinking that this is a framework. We don't want to codify limits that are only applicable today. The Kalinga is a framework that will be used for the next years. And if we do that, we might be tying the hands of the executive. So, but like I said, the executive is in fact already in agreement with you. They're already doing 20%.
I keep on wanting to ground this in real examples so that we can appreciate how easy it is to cut it by more than 10% and why cutting it by much more is very reasonable. I don't want to go into the details of how Congress spends its 18.58 billion pesos MOOE for 2026, but I think we have first-hand experience that certainly there is room to cut the MOOE of agencies across the Philippine government, starting here in our own House of Representatives. So I'm asking, Mr. Chair, if in the period of amendments, you will agree that we increase the at least 10% cut in the non-essential MOOE.
Like I said, it's something that is worth considering. We will consult with the DBM, and at the appropriate time, we will address the concern.
But if I'm not mistaken, the period of amendments will follow this today, and I would like then, hopefully this to be adopted in the period of amendments today, that we increase the non-essential MOE cut from 10%. If I can just give a number now on the floor, I think given we've grounded this 150 billion pesos of non-essential MOE onto things that are really non-essential, as identified by the DBM, then even 50% of a cut on non-essential MOE is reasonable. But if you'd like to counter-propose a lower number after this interpolation, then I'm open. But I'm not doing this because the savings goes to me. It's savings for the country. And I hope all of us would agree that we should cut as much of the non-essential MOOE as we can. And I hope we can discuss what the precise number should be after this interpolation. Doesn't need to be now on the floor.
Like I said, we will consider that at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to ask again about the suspension on the VAT and excise tax, but maybe I can also discuss this matter with Chairman Kimbo outside of this interpolation, because I'm hopeful that at least on the increase in the cut on the non-essential MOOE, he can agree today to increase it by some amount more than 10%.
I'm absolutely open to it. We will confer with the DBM on what is going to be realistic, considering that a huge sum of that MOE has already been spent by the executive.
Yes, but the percentage is for the remaining expenditure for the year. Whatever
yes.
is remaining to be spent.
I'm absolutely open to that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wishes to interpolate, I move to close the period of sponsorship and debate.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the period of sponsorship and debate is now closed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to open the period of amendments.
There's a motion to open the period of amendments. Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, there being no committee amendments, I move to proceed with individual amendments. And may I
Yes,
recognize...
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to Representative Arthur C. Yap from the Murang Kuryente party list for his individual amendment.
The Honorable Arthur Yap is recognized. Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, gandang gabi po to our distinguished chairman, Chairman Kimbo.
Magandang gabi po, Mr. Speaker. Sa distinguished pinakamagaling na NFA General Manager, pinakamagaling na Secretary of Agriculture, pinakamagaling na Gobernador ng the Great Province of Bohol.
Mr. Speaker, baka maniwala po ako.
Ayuda na yun, Mr. Speaker.
Salamat po. Mr. Speaker, with the indulgence, with the permission of the Honorable Chairman, would he accept certain amendments into our bill, sir?
Please proceed, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, Roman numeral 1 under section 3, number 1, on page 3, line 28, replace the word farmers with agricultural, Mr. Speaker.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept the proposed amendment.
Majority.
We move to approve the proposed amendment, Mr. Speaker.
There's a motion to approve the amendment. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Majority. Please proceed.
On number 2, immediately following that, on the same page, line 29, insert the word production before the word aggregation, Mr. Speaker.
This is line 29, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
We accept the proposed amendment.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
There's a motion to approve the amendment. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Majority Leader. Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, on page 4, line 45, insert the phrase or Maritime Industry Authority, Marina, after the word LTFRB, Mr. Speaker.
What does the sponsor say?
Considering, Mr. Speaker, that it was actually out of inadvertence that we failed to put Marina as one of those issuing CPCs, we accept the proposed amendment.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we join the sponsor in accepting the proposed amendment. I move to approve the proposed amendment.
There's a motion to approve the amendment. There an objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, under Section 5, Declaration of a State of National Emergency, subsection C, on page 6, line 32, replace 30 days of supply with the phrase 7 days of supply for LPG, 15 days for other refined oil products, or 30 days for crude oil. The new provision will read as follows. C. National fuel inventory levels falling below 7 days of supply for LPG, 15 days for other refined oil products, or 30 days for crude oil, as determined and certified by the DOE. Mr. Speaker.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept the proposal, considering that the original phrasing is too general and in fact does not distinguish the sensitivity of each and every fuel category. So we accept, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
There's a motion to approve the amendment. There an objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, under Section 12, Fuel and Fertilizer Support, on page 13, line 6, replace the section title with Fuel, Fertilizer, and Agricultural Financing Support Measures. Mr. Speaker.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
There's a motion to approve the amendments. There's an objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Please continue.
Mr. Speaker, on the same page, line 22, insert a new subsection which shall read as follows. Letter C, financing support through low-interest loans, credit guarantee programs, credit risk-sharing facilities, and insurance support mechanisms including yield-based, parametric, index-based remote sensing-enabled, and climate-resilient insurance, and other financial assistance necessary to sustain agricultural production and agri-based MSME operations. Mr. Speaker.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept the proposed amendment.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
There is a motion to approve the amendments. There an objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Please continue.
Mr. Speaker, under sections 16, line 14, on page 16, line 14, insert the word CDA after the word authority. Mr. Speaker.
Sponsor.
We accept the proposed amendment.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
There is a motion to approve the amendments. There an objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Please continue.
On the same page, line 16, insert the phrase "and cooperatives" after the word "enterprises." Mr. Speaker.
Sponsor.
We accept the proposed amendment.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
There's a motion to approve the amendments. There is an objection. Hearing none, the motion is approved. Please continue.
Mr. Speaker, on the same page, line 41, insert the word and the words "and CDA" after the word DTI, Mr. Speaker.
What does the sponsor say?
For consistency, Mr. Speaker, we accept the amendment.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
There's a motion to approve the amendments. There is an objection. Hearing none, the motion is approved. Please continue.
Mr. Speaker, on the same page, line 41, insert the words "and cooperatives" after the word MSMEs.
What does the sponsor say?
Again, for consistency, we accept the proposed amendment.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
There's a motion to approve the amendments. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for accepting these amendments.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize the Honorable Sergio C. Dagoc from the APEC party list for his individual amendments.
The Honorable Sergio Dagoc is recognized. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Majority Leader. would the distinguished sponsor accept some individual amendments?
Gladly, I will listen to my erudite colleague.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor, under Section 8, page 10, line 42, after the last paragraph, insert a new paragraph worded as follows: all concerned agencies and local government units shall comply with the requirements of the section and ensure that the beneficiary data management and verification system is fully operational with initial beneficiary list validated, cross-matched, and made available to implementing agencies within 15 days from the declaration of a state of national emergency pursuant to Section 5 of this Act, provided that any agency or local government unit that fails to comply with this deadline without justifiable cause shall be subject to the penalties provided under this Act, and the Council is hereby authorized to issue SIOCOS orders and administrative directives to compel immediate compliance.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept the proposed amendment, subject to style. There are matters here which we feel like needs to be harmonized, but we accept.
Thank you. Subject to style and formatting.
Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
there's a motion to approve the said amendments. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Please continue.
Under Section 13, page 14, line 18, Section 3, after the word operators, insert the phrase including domestic and inter-island shipping or boat operators,
What does the
subject to
sponsor-
style and formatting.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept the proposed amendment.
Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
there's a motion to approve the said amendments. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Please continue.
Under Section 26, on page 23, line 21, this representation would like to humbly propose to delete the entire Section 26 of the same bill. Kasi baka ipatong lang nila yung 15%, magiging 27% na yung VAT natin. Hindi naman natin, mahirap natin i-monitor yung implementation. So, I am proposing, distinguished sponsor, to delete the entire section.
What does the sponsor say?
Can we suspend, can we move that proposal to the latter part of your other proposals? So as I confer with our colleagues from the DOF and the DBM.
Gladly.
With the indulgence,
Gladly.
Mr. Speaker. Do you have other proposals?
Yes, there is another.
Can we go to the next one first, please?
On page 27, line 36, after section 31, insert a new provision. This is the penal clause. For the interest of time, distinguished sponsor, I have submitted a copy to the COMSEC. If this is accepted, subject to style and formatting.
What does the sponsor say?
We regret that we cannot accept the proposal for the reasons that we will need to harmonize many of these penalties relative to other existing provisions, and that we feel like it will be too coercive on the part of, and it may result into a cruel or unjust penalty.
I accede to the distinguished sponsor, Mr.
Can
Speaker.
we, Mr. Speaker, can we go back to the previous proposal on section 26?
Please proceed.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor, my proposal is to delete the entire section.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept the proposal.
Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
there's a motion to approve the said amendments. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, ako po'y nagpapasalamat sa ating butihing sponsor. Lalong nadagdagan yung kagalang-galang na pagtingin ko sa kanya. Maraming salamat, distinguished sponsor. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Maraming salamat po.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend session for a few minutes.
We accept the proposed amendment, Mr.
What does the majority leader say?
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
There is a motion to approve the proposed amendments. There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Majority. Yes, continue. Please continue.
On the same page, line 7, after the word suspend, insert the phrase or reduce.
For consistency, we also accept, Mr. Speaker.
What does the majority leader say?
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
There is a motion to approve the proposed amendments. There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
On the same page, lines 18 to 26, replace the paragraph with a new paragraph, which shall read as follows. The suspension or reduction of the applicable VAT and or excise tax rates under sections 106 and 148 of the NIRC of 1997 as amended may be extended for another period not exceeding 30 days when the conditions warrant, provided that the aggregate period of the suspension or reduction shall not exceed 60 days. Provided further that the VAT and excise tax on petroleum products imposed under sections 106 and 148 of the NIRC of 1997 as amended shall revert automatically without need for further legislative or executive action upon the lifting of the declaration of national emergency or expiration of the suspension or reduction period, whichever comes.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept, Mr. Speaker.
What does the majority leader say?
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
There is a motion to approve the proposed amendment. There an objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Please continue.
On the same page, line 28, after the word suspension, insert the phrase or reduction.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept, Mr. Speaker.
What does the majority leader say?
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
There is a motion to approve the proposed amendment. There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Please continue.
On the same page, line 38, after the word suspension, insert the phrase or reduction.
What does the sponsor say?
For consistency, we accept.
What does the majority leader say?
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
There is a motion to approve the proposed amendments. There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Please continue.
On the same page, line 41, after the word suspension, insert the phrase or reduction.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept, Mr. Speaker.
What does the majority leader say?
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
There is a motion to approve the proposed amendments. There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Please continue.
That would be all, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Majority leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize the Honorable Paolo Marcoleta from Sagip Party List for his individual amendments.
The Honorable Paolo Margoleta from Sagip Party List is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished sponsor, may I propose an amendment pursuant to my earlier interpellation regarding the inclusion of educational relief in the form of a moratorium on the payment of tuition fees for private schools of not less than 60 days.
What does the sponsor say?
Gusto ko rin po sana moratorium on increase on tuition fees for the entire school year 2026.
Where
to
specifically,
2027.
Mr. Speaker, is the distinguished gentleman seeking to insert the proposed amendment?
Perhaps it would be apt to include it under section 11 under household relief and consumer protection.
I think for consistency, Mr. Speaker, it's best to take it up in Section 15 on temporary moratorium on loan, rental, and utilities payments. If the purpose of the distinguished gentleman is to include within the ambit of the moratorium period the suspension of payment of tuition fees that falls due during that period of time or during that emergency period or moratorium period, which applies to banks, applies to other subsections here, we accept.
So to include the private learning institutions, schools.
Tuition fee for that matter without distinction.
Thank you very much.
What does the majority leader say?
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
There's a motion to approve the proposed amendments. There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Thank you very
Please
much,
continue.
Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Majority leader.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Congressman Leandro from the 1st District for his individual amendment.
The gentleman from Batangas is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, sa Section 30A, iminumungkahi ko na ang mandatory cut sa non-essential MOOE ay itaas mula 10% tungo sa numero na tatanggapin mo ngayong gabi. Kung maaari po, ang aking unang panukala ay not less than 50%.
Yun ang unang panukala. Ano ang huling panukala? Maaari ba nating malaman?
Sige, Mr. Chair. Ito naman po ay hindi para sa atin, ito po ay para sa bayan, di ba? Kaya
Tama.
kung mas mataas, mas maganda. At sa kasalukuyan, ang 10% sa non-essential MOOE ay baka mga 12 billion pesos. At ang 20% ay mga 25 billion pesos. Siyempre, mas maganda kung 50% para mga 55 billion pesos o 60 billion pesos ang matitipid natin. Pero kung 20%, at least 25 billion pesos ang
Doble yun.
matitipid natin.
Doble na yun.
Doble na, pero malaki pa rin ang naiiwan na non-essential MOE. Yung 60 billion pesos na 50% cut, kaya Mr. Chair, hindi kaya. Anong tingin po ng DBM?
Hindi nila, sa tingin nila, mahirap, maaaring itali natin masyado. Lalo yung mga future undertakings or future budgets, masyado siyang mataas at this point in time. At sa tingin ko ay acceptable ang 20%.
Salamat po, Mr. Chair, at pumapayag kayo na idoble ang 10 maging 20, ang 12 maging 25 billion. Kung maari po na lang, kung pwedeng mag-commit ang DBM na magbigay na rin sila ng best efforts. Kahit na hindi nakalagay dito na not less than 50%, kung nakalagay dito not less than 20%, pero sana makukuha natin ang kanilang commitment na makakatipid tayo ng 50% or more sa non-essential MOOE sa halaga ng 60 billion pesos kahit hindi po ito minamandate sa Kalinga Act. Sa tingin po ba natin, ito po ba ay kaya?
We're in the period of amendments. Just make the necessary proposal, distinguished colleague.
50% ayaw nyo po.
That's not acceptable because it's unrealistic because even with 20%, they're having difficulty already.
Okay. Sa aking pananaw,
What is the proposal, Mr. Speaker?
okay, sa aking pananaw po, reasonable na magpanukala na ibaba ng 50%, ngunit para matapos tayo ngayong araw, papayag po ako kung ang inyong panukala ay 20% at nais ko lang i-manifest na sana sa mga susunod na pagdinig, mag-report din ng DBM ng mas mataas pa na savings kaysa sa 20% po lamang. Anyway, nakalagay naman po dito, not less than X%.
I believe the amendment, Mr. Sponsor, is for 20%. And
So,
what does the sponsor
to
say?
formalize the amendment, if I am correct, distinguished colleague, Mr. Speaker, wishes to amend line 33 by stating an amount not less than, instead of 10%, is to replace that with the words 20% of the covered line items just for formality. Am I correct, Mr.
Yes,
Speaker?
Mr. Chair. Dahil yan ang sinasabi na posible ngayong gabi, my proposal is to have not less than 20%.
So we accept the proposal with the condition that we specify that this refers to this particular fiscal year. Because like I said, it is difficult to project what happens in the years that will come. If we have a better budgeting system, it will be more difficult to tie their hands down, but we accede to the proposal of my best friend, my son, Congressman Leandro Leviste.
What does the majority leader say?
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
There is a motion to approve the proposed amendment. There is any objection? There is none. Motion is carried.
Maraming
Please
salamat
continue.
po, Mr. Chair.
Maraming salamat sa aking prodigal son.
Salamat po.
Sa aking mahal na son.
Thank you po.
Thank you, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no other member who wishes to propose individual amendments, I move to terminate the period of amendment.
There is a motion to terminate the period of amendment. There any objection? Chair is none. Motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize the guests of the Honorable Marlo C. Bangcoro of the 1st District of Zamboanga. I'm sorry. I withdraw the motion.
Apologies, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that we vote on second reading House Bill 9305 as amended.
Move to suspend, Mr. Speaker.
Session suspended.
The termination of the period of amendments.
There is a motion to reconsider the termination for the period of amendments. There any objection? Chair is none. Motion is carried. Please proceed, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Chair Miro to sponsor the measure.
The sponsor, Chair Miro, is hereby recognized.
We are open to more amendments, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Representative Rolando M. Valeriano from the 2nd District of Manila for his individual amendments.
The gentleman from Manila is hereby recognized.
Thank you,
Please
Mr.
proceed, sir.
Speaker. Mr. Otto, I have some proposed amendments, and are you willing to?
Yes, proceed, please.
On Section 30B, page 26, line 17, delete the word "or" after the word "unobligated" and replace it with a comma.
We accept the proposal of the kingpin of the City of Manila.
What does the Majority Leader say?
Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the proposed amendment.
There is a motion to amend, and there is no objection. Chair is none. Motion is carried. Majority Leader.
That's all, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, there being no other member who wishes to propose any individual amendments, I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
There is a motion to terminate the period of amendments. There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we vote on House Bill 9305 on second reading as amended.
There is a motion to approve on second reading House Bill 9305 as amended. All those who are in favor say aye. All those who against say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 9305 is hereby approved for second reading as amended.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker.
Congratulations.
Maraming salamat po.
Congratulations, Chair.
Maraming salamat sa 12 fellow co-chairs ko din po nakasama namin. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize the guest of the Honorable Marlo C. Bangcoro of the 1st District of Zamboanga, Sibugay, and they are LGU officials from that province. They are Vice Mayor Gerald Acosta, Sangguniang Bayan Member Alan Balida Escamilan Sr., Sangguniang Bayan Member...
Before we proceed with, could we request all those who were called for recognition to please rise? Please continue, Majority Leader.
Sangguniang Bayan Member Mujahid C. Jajuri, Board Member Eufemio Javier, Board Member Pepito Yanga, Board Member Hershey May Senarlo, Maria Belia Javier, Maria Yvonne Palma, Maria Esperanza Corazon D. Rillera Hadjiula, Jesse Lagas, and Abdurao Abison.
To the guest of Attorney Marlo Bangcoro from the 1st District of Zamboanga, Sibugay, LGU officials from the province of Zamboanga, Sibugay, led by Vice Mayor Gerald Acosta. Sir, maayong pag-abot diri sa Balay, Baloroonan. Kumusta ko, Boyet Tiambaw? Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, under the calendar of business for today, I move that we consider House Bill number 8392 as considered in the committee report number 144, submitted by Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms, copies of which have been distributed to the members. For this purpose, may I request the Secretary General to be directed to read the title of the bill.
There is a motion to consider House Bill 8392. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of the bill.
House Bill 8392, an act declaring National Election Day as regular non-working holiday, amending for the purpose Section 26, Chapter 7, Book 1 of Executive Order Number 292, otherwise known as the Administrative Code of 1987.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open a period of sponsorship and debate.
There is a motion to open the period of sponsorship and debate for House Bill 8392. There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize J.C. Abalos of 4-Piece Party List to sponsor the measure.
The Honorable J.C. Abalos is hereby recognized to sponsor House Bill 8392.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, and to our guests in attendance, magandang gabi po. The Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms, to which were referred House Bills number 102, House Bill number 3101, House Bill number 3102, has considered the same and recommends that the attached House Bill number 8392, entitled An Act Declaring National Election Day as Regular Non-Working Holiday, amending for the purpose Section 26, Chapter 7, Book 1 of Executive Order 292, otherwise known as the Administrative Code of 1987, be approved in substitution of House Bills numbered 102, 3101, and 3102, with Representatives J.C.M. Abalos, Arnie B. Fuentebella, Noel Bong N. Rivera, Javier Miguel Lopez Benitez, Sarah Jane Elago, Maximo B. Rodriguez Jr., Esmael G. Mangudadatu, and Zia Adyong as authors thereof. Mr. Speaker, ang araw ng halalan ay isa pong special non-working holiday. Hindi po katulad ng mga ibang araw tulad ng Labor Day, Independence Day, National Day, and the like. Sa kasalukuyan, Mr. Speaker, ang araw ng halalan na nagaganap tuwing ikalawang Lunes ng Mayo ay special non-working holiday lamang by virtue of a presidential proclamation typically issued days before the election day itself. Ayon po sa ating labor code, Mr. Speaker, ang mga papasok sa trabaho ay mabibigyan lamang ng additional 30% ng kanilang sahod at ang mga hindi papasok naman sa trabaho sa araw ng eleksyon ay hindi mababayaran dahil po sa no work, no pay policy. Mr. Speaker, evidently there is a practical flaw in the fundamental exercise of democracy that should and can be addressed through this legislation. I believe that voters should be free from any fear or burden in order to vote. That in the minds of every voter, they should never have to make a choice between the future of our nation and the ability to earn a day's wage to support their family. Mr. Speaker, this measure seeks to remedy this by making national elections a regular holiday, thereby allowing Filipinos the right to full payment of wages every election day and would help ensure their participation in the democratic process. Voters shouldn't have to rush through the process, and they would be able to give thoughtful consideration to their choices and to have ample time for the undecided to study the qualifications of all candidates. Mr. Speaker, maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize the gentleman from Kamanggagawa Party List, Elijah San Fernando for his manifestation.
The gentleman from Manggagawa Party List, Representative Elijah San Fernando, is hereby recognized. Sir, you have the floor.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Speaker, sa ating buting sponsor. Ang kinatawang ito po ng mga manggagawa ay tumatayo para suportahan ang isang simple, ngunit napakahalagang panukalang batas na may malaking impact ho sa buhay ng ating mga manggagawa. Ang kasalukuyang polisiya po talaga ay no work, no pay. Madaling sabihin sa mga manggagawa na isang tabi niyo muna, isang araw lang naman para bumoto. Pero para po sa isang minimum wage earner na may 3 anak, may binabayarang utilities, kuryente, tubig, renta sa bahay, ang isang araw po na hindi pagpasok ay may malaking impact sa kanilang pang-araw-araw na buhay bilang isang manggagawa. Kaya nga po, itong itinutulak na panukalang batas ng ating butihing sponsor ay higit na makakatulong para ma-exercise ng ating mga kababayan, lalong higit ang mga manggagawa at ordinaryong Pilipino, ang kanilang karapatan sa pagboto. Ang karapatan po sa pagboto ay hindi lang naman tungkol sa pipili ka ng leader, sa halalan, kundi ito ay pumapatungkol sa kung paano ginagawa ng gobyerno ang lahat upang maging ganap na maisakatuparan ng bawat isang manggagawa ang kanyang karapatan. Kaya po, Mr. Speaker, Ginoong Sponsor, ang kinatawan po ng mga manggagawa ay buong-buong sumusuporta sa panukalang batas na ito at hinihikayat ang bulwagang ito na suportahan din ang itinutulak na panukalang batas para maging holiday ang araw ng halalan. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Sponsor, Ginoong Speaker. Mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Mr. Speaker, ako po ay nagpapasalamat kay Representative Elijah San Fernando ng Kamanggagawa Party List. Isa po siyang tunay na representante sa kapakanan at karapatan ng bawat manggagawang Pilipino. Maraming salamat po, distinguished colleague.
Thank you very much, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to recognize Representative ACT Teachers Party List, Representative Antonio Tino for his manifestation.
The gentleman from ACT Teachers Party List, Representative Antonio Tino, is hereby recognized. Sir, you have the floor.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker. Actually, with the permission of the sponsor, isang manifestasyon lang po ito ng buong pagsuporta sa pagsasabatas ng House Bill number 102. Isa pa nga ito sa mga unang-unang bill na na-file sa kongresong ito, no? At matagal na pong advokasya ng kagalang-galang na sponsor na si Congressman J.C. Abalos. Napakahalaga po at napakaganda ng panukala na gawin ng regular non-working holiday ang araw ng eleksyon, yung national elections. Bakit? Katulad naman ng nasabi, para matiyak na ang bawat Pilipino ay meron talagang pagkakataon na makaboto. Yun ang pinaka-basic. Pero para sa mga manggagawa, no, na siyempre kailangang kilalanin at irespeto natin ang karapatang bumoto ay yes, working holiday ang election day, pero ano po ang nagagawa kapag maging non-working, regular non-working holiday na po ito? Ibig po sabihin ay may dagdag na kompensasyon na matatanggap. No? Ang mga manggagawa, ang mga empleyado, manggagawa sa pabrika, mga empleyado, huwag natin kalimutan ang mga public school teacher natin na inaasahan nating magsilbi sa eleksyon. So meron na nga silang, yes, meron silang honorarium, pero ngayon, pag napasa ang batas na ito, ay entitled pa rin sila sa nakatakda sa ating mga labor laws kaugnay sa dagdag na kompensasyon kapag ka regular non-working holiday. Kaya di ko na po pahahabain. Buong-buo po ang suporta natin sa panukalang ito at sana ay mabilis na aprubahan ng kapulungan ito. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Speaker, at pagbati po sa sponsor.
Thank you very much. What does the sponsor say?
Mr. Speaker, ako po ay nagpapasalamat sa kagalang-galang Congressman Tonsi Tino ng ACT Teachers Party List sa kanyang suporta sa ating panukalang batas. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, lastly, we would like to recognize a representative of 4K Party List, Representative Iris Marie de Mesa Montez, for her manifestation.
The gentle lady from 4K Party List, Representative Iris Marie de Mesa Montez, is hereby recognized. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Nakababaihan Kabalikatan para sa Kapakanan at Kaunlaran ng Bayan, or 4K, manifests its full support to the proposed measure declaring Election Day as a regular non-working holiday. By ensuring that every Filipino voter has the time, space, and freedom to cast their ballot without burden of work obligations, we affirm that suffrage is not a privilege but a constitutional right that must be accessible to all. Declaring it a regular holiday removes barriers for our workers who often struggle to balance livelihood with civic duty. It is a recognition that democracy thrives when participation is universal. Sa madaling salita po, ang araw ng halalan ay dapat maging tunay na araw ng bayan. Sa pamamagitan ng pagdideklara nito bilang regular non-working holiday, ginagawang konkretong hakbang ang inklusibong pamamahala, isang garantya na walang Pilipino ang mapapag-iwanan sa pagboto. Mr. Speaker, may I therefore reiterate our support for the bill and urge our colleagues to do the same for the empowerment of every Filipino voter. Maraming salamat.
Thank you very much. What does the sponsor say?
Mr. Speaker, I would like to express my full gratitude and appreciation to the manifestation of Representative Iris Montez of 4K Party List. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues.
Thank you very much. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no other members who wish to interpolate nor manifest, we'd like to end or terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
There is a motion to terminate sponsorship and debate for House Bill 8392. There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open a period of amendments.
There is a motion to open period of amendments for House Bill 8392. There are an objection. Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no individual and committee amendments, we move to terminate the period of amendments.
There is a motion to close. There is a motion. There is any objection. Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we vote on second reading House Bill number 8392.
There is a motion to vote on House Bill 8392. Those who are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who are against say aye. The ayes have it. House Bill 8392 is approved on second reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, under the calendar of business for today, I move that we consider House Bill number 8702 as contained in Committee Report number 233 under the Committee on Public Order and Safety. And may I direct the Secretary General read the title of the bill.
The Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill 8702.
House Bill number 8702, an act increasing the compulsory retirement age for uniformed personnel of the Philippine National Police from 56 years old to 57 years old, amending for the purpose Section 39 of Republic Act number 6975, otherwise known as the Department of the Interior and Local Government Act of 1990, as amended.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we open the period of sponsorship and debate.
There is a motion to open the period of sponsorship and debate for House Bill 8702. There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize Representative Ronaldo Villariano from the 2nd District of Manila to sponsor the measure.
The gentleman from Manila is hereby recognized to sponsor House Bill 8702.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and distinguished colleagues, this representation is honored to sponsor Committee Report number 233 on House Bill number 8702 entitled An Act Increasing the Compulsory Retirement Age of Uniformed Personnel of the Philippine National Police or PNP from 56 years old to 57 years old, amending for the purpose Section 39 of Republic Act number 6975, otherwise known as the Department of the Interior and Local Government Act of 1990 as amended. Mr. Speaker, the PNP is the country's premier law enforcement institution tasked with maintaining peace and order, protecting lives and property, and ensuring public safety. The demands of policing require not only adequate training and resources, but also a highly experienced workforce capable of addressing the increasingly complex challenges of crime, terrorism, cyber threats, and community security. Currently, uniformed PNP personnel are required to retire compulsory at the age of 56. However, many police officers at age 56 remain physically fit, mentally sharp, and fully capable of contributing to the PNP's mission. Raising the retirement age to 57 allows the organization to maximize the expertise, leadership, and institutional knowledge of its senior officers while providing additional time for knowledge transfer to younger personnel. Furthermore, increasing the retirement age will help ease the growing fiscal pressures on the government's pension system. By extending service for one more year, the state defers pension payouts while simultaneously continuing to benefit from the services of trained personnel. It must be emphasized that in the previous Congress, the PNP Organizational Reform Bill included this very provision, but the measure was vetoed for reasons unrelated to the proposed increase in retirement age. The President's veto message did not object to this particular reform, which highlights the soundness and urgency of its passage today. Mr. Speaker and distinguished colleagues, this representation seeks your support for the immediate approval of this measure. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sponsor. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we would like to recognize Representative Romeo M. Aco for his manifestation.
The gentleman from the 2nd District of Antipolo City, Representative Romeo Acop, is hereby recognized. Sir, you have the floor.
Good evening. May I manifest that I am not Representative Romeo Acop. I am Representative Philip Conrad Acop.
Let me correct myself. Congressman Philip Acop.
Thank you.
Sir, you are recognized, and my apologies.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I rise today to express my full and unequivocal support of House Bill number 8702, entitled An Act Increasing the Retirement Age for Uniformed Personnel of the Philippine National Police from 56 years old to 57 years old, amending for the purpose of Section 39 of Republic Act number 6975, otherwise known as the Department of Interior and Local Government Act of 1990, as amended. This measure is deeply personal to me. This bill was among the priority legislative advocacies of my father, the late Honorable Romeo M. Acop, whose life was defined by decades of dedicated service to the Philippine National Police and to the Filipino people. Long before he entered Congress, he served with honor in the police service, and throughout his public life, he remained a steadfast advocate of the welfare, dignity, and professional development of our uniformed personnel. He understood the realities faced by our police officers, not merely from policy discussions, but from lived experience. He knew the sacrifices demanded by the profession, the pressures carried by those in uniform, and the immense value of experience and leadership within the ranks of the PNP. It is therefore with profound respect for his legacy and with full conviction in the merits of this measure that I stand before this chamber today in support of House Bill number 8702. Mr. Speaker, this proposed adjustment from 56 to 57 years old is modest, measured, and reasonable. Yet despite its modesty, its impact will be meaningful and far-reaching. First, this measure recognizes the continuing capability and value of experienced police officers. Many officers who reach the age of 56 remain physically fit, mentally sharp, and professionally effective. Indeed, it is often at this stage in their careers that they possess the greatest institutional knowledge, operational wisdom, and leadership maturity. Allowing them to continue serving for an additional year enables the Philippine National Police to retain invaluable experience and expertise that would otherwise be lost prematurely. Second, the House Bill number 8702 promotes institutional stability within the PNP. Continuity in leadership and personnel is critical to effective law enforcement and public safety operations. By slightly extending the retirement age, we help ensure smoother transitions, preserve institutional memory, and strengthen organizational capacity. More importantly, this bill sends a clear message to our men and women in uniform that this institution recognizes their continuing capacity to serve and that their dedication is honored not only in rhetoric, but through meaningful legislation. Mr. Speaker, this bill is not simply about extending tenure. It is about valuing service, strengthening institutions, and recognizing the enduring contributions of those who dedicate their lives to maintaining peace and order in our country. In supporting this measure, I also honor the lifelong advocacy of my late father, an advocacy rooted in service, discipline, and deep respect for the men and women of the Philippine National Police. For these reasons, I respectfully manifest my strong support for House Bill number 8702, and I urge my esteemed colleagues in this august chamber to likewise support this passage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What does would the sponsor care to comment?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Maraming salamat po sa suporta at natatandaan ko, one of the author is yung father niya po si Congressman Romy Acop.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no members who wish to interpolate or manifest, I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
There is a motion to terminate the period of sponsorship and debate. There is an objection. Here is none. Motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of amendments.
There is a motion to open the period of amendments for House Bill 8702. There is an objection. Here is none. Motion is carried. Majority
Mr.
Leader.
Speaker, may we recognize Representative Victoria Yu of the 2nd District of Zamboanga del Sur.
The gentlewoman from the 2nd District of Zamboanga del Sur, Honorable Jaisal Victoria Yu, hereby recognized. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, may I propose the following amendments? First, on Section 1, page 1, line 5, after the closing parenthesis, replace the colon with period and delete the words provided that.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept, Mr. Speaker.
What does the Majority Leader say?
We move to approve, Mr. Speaker.
There is a motion to approve the amendment. There is an objection. Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, on the
Please continue, Honorable Victoria.
On the same section, lines 7 to 10, delete the phrase, the incumbent chief of the PNP shall be compulsorily retired at the age of 56.
What does the sponsor say?
Accepted, Mr. Speaker.
What does the majority leader say?
We move to approve, Mr. Speaker.
There is a motion to approve the proposed amendment. There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Please continue.
Mr. Speaker, lastly, the section shall now read as follows. Section 1, Section 39 of Republic Act Number 6975 is hereby amended to read as follows. Section 39, compulsory retirement for uniformed personnel of the PNP shall be upon the attainment of age 57.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept, Mr. Speaker.
What does the majority leader say?
We move to approve, Mr. Speaker.
There is a motion to accept the amendment. There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried. Please continue.
Mr. Speaker, there are no more amendments.
Thank you. Majority leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no individual amendments, no committee amendments, I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
There is a motion to terminate the period of amendments for House Bill 8702. There any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is carried.
Mr. Speaker,
Majority leader.
I move that we vote on second reading House Bill 8702.
There is a motion to vote for second reading House Bill 8702 on second reading as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who are against say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 870